right, FluentBooking is out today officially as part of this lifetime deal that WPManageNinja, the company that makes it, is launching, which is what they kind of do with all of their plugins. If you've seen FluentCRM and FluentForms in the past, when they release these plugins, they typically launch these lifetime deal discounts that are typically discounted a little more than they are when they bring them back for these lifetime deal specials that sometimes come up for like Black Friday deals and stuff like that. So FluentBooking is out and available, and I do have a link in the description if after you watch this video you decide that it's right for you. And that's because there are a couple of things, some nuances, some annoyances that I want you to be aware of before you just decide to jump in and buy this plugin. I'm really trying hard to portray a very transparent and honest opinion of this plugin, like I do with all of the tools that I use, so that you can take anything that you hear from me and use it to help inform your decision about whether or not this tool is right for you, whether you're a business and it's going to help you with bookings, or a hobbyist, or you just simply like to tinker and build websites with cool stuff. I want you to make sure you're not wasting your money, because none of these things are cheap. I'm going to start off with an overview of the plugin. Then we'll walk through some of the things that I found that are like bugs, and some of the things that I really wish that they would change, and some of the things that are completely missing that they absolutely need to add before I can even personally use FluentBooking. So enough of that. If you're still interested, continue watching and let's jump in. Okay, so here's FluentBooking. I've got this running on one of my test websites because I typically have learned the lesson that I don't install basically new software onto my production sites, trying to get better at that because WordPress is just an absolute disaster these days. But this is the dashboard, and one of the first things that I will say that I really do think they've nailed, more than even with their other plugins, is they've really nailed the interface here. I wish that they would take some cues from this and bring it over to the FluentCRM and FluentForms side. These are really nice. So kudos to the team for developing this. I really do like the next meetings option where I can see right here who I have a call with. I can click view, brings it up right here on my screen. I can see it's with Doug. Here's the FluentCRM profile because it integrates with FluentCRM. I can see the meeting activities. I don't really know what that means other than this is the details for the call. So I can click this Zoom link over here and be put right into my meeting. It has other basic details like the information that was filled out on the booking form for when the person booked it, time, details of that user. Again, there's the Zoom info there. I can add an internal note here, like if I wanted to say like this guy is crazy, be prepared, whatever like that, I can hit update, and that'll be added into this upcoming meeting. So if you had multiple hosts on your or in your business, like let's say you had an office and you were taking in multiple people and you had like Doug and John and Jane all had access as hosts, we could make notes for each other for internal use. And then you can see under booking URL, this is where the booking was made. As you can see, it's just on my test site on a preview page that I made. So I actually think that this is quite nice. Now I want to jump back out to me again here and talk to you about something that I think is important. So my perspective going into explaining all of these things is going to be from someone who makes a large portion of their business's annual revenue from booked appointments and from bookings. I would say that probably in what is it, 2023, when I'm doing this video, this year to date, so far in the first 10 months, I would say at least 40% of my revenue is from bookings through a calendar. So at this point, that's nearly 6 figures of revenue generated through a booking plugin. Well, not a plugin, but a booking service. So I'm looking at this with a critical eye saying, can I use this? Is this something that I could see continuing to make as much or more by using this plugin? Does this make my life easier? Is this worth using? So I wanted to jump back and add that in because I think that's pretty important. And I think it's important when you're evaluating a tool and the person is telling you about it, that you understand where they are coming from. So again, I'm all about informing your decision to move forward and purchase this on your own. So let's jump back in here. We are looking at the dashboard again. And as someone, here's the statement I was making before, as someone who makes great use of booking plugins for their business, the rest of this maybe not so great, right? Like booking trends, maybe that's useful if I were running a multi-person business, but generally speaking, my calendar tells me if I'm busy. If I don't have multiple calls a day, I'm not busy. So I don't necessarily need a trends, but it's there. I think this is taking up a lot of space that I might instead have some like a next meeting be a little bit bigger, little things like that. But for some reason, people like charts. And this latest booked meetings section, again, not so great for me. I don't really see the benefit of this. Now, next I want to skip down to the settings section because there's actually a lot here. You can enable a booking summary notification, which I actually think is very, very useful. If you're like me and you might get 3 or 4 bookings a day, it would be nice to know daily. I would probably do daily, given my volume of, how many people booked, who are they. I've actually yet to see what this looks like. I hope that this email looks useful. I will say the email that they send out from FluentForms that has the booking summary or the form submission summary is decently useful. It's like a little table in an email that says you got these many contacts on these different forms. That's not terrible, but I would love if this email, which again I haven't seen yet because the thing came out today, I would love to see if this is, or hope that this is pretty useful. So regardless, I would probably still turn it on just to know that my business is working. Under Teams, you can add more team members. I was added by default as the administrator, but you can add your team. They need to be a user on your WordPress site. So you drop this down, select the user. We'll go ahead and select me as the test user. And here are some of the abilities that I can give them. I can give them read access, read and write access, things like that. I think this would be good to give other employees of your business. Like if you, for example, ran a salon or like a med spa or something like that. I work with a lot of med spas in my agency. So they might want to give access to their employees to be able to go in and manage bookings or to have their own bookings. Like an esthetician might want to have their own booking calendar, and you would add them here. This is pretty good. I'll skip these next couple because I have a lot to say on them, but the Stripe integration, I will say one of the pleasant things that I was surprised by is if I click Connect with Stripe, you will see that I have the ability to select and actually use pre-existing Stripe businesses. Thankfully, they don't force you to create a new Stripe account like some tools. If you watch my channel, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like some tools require you to create your new or your own new Stripe account specifically for this tool, which means any legacy accounts automatically lose out on the benefit of legacy Stripe pricing. So it's just nice to be able to choose your account. I'll leave it at that. Now, I do want to step out for 1 second as well and talk really quickly about one of my hesitations about taking payments through a tool through my WordPress website, but particularly through a tool managed by WPManageNinja. And I'm just gonna be brutally honest here. A couple months ago, there was an issue that my clients had. Thankfully, I didn't have it, where the plugins, so FluentForms, which is, I'm assuming, the same tech that manages the integration here with FluentBooking, right? It's WPManageNinja's Stripe integration. Well, an issue arose where the plugins, I don't know if you've noticed that when you go to plugins, there's a base plugin. Like, let's go to plugins right now. Like, I don't know if you've noticed in the past how there's like FluentForms and then there's like FluentForms Pro and FluentCRM and FluentCRM Pro. Well, I so far don't see that in this case with FluentBooking. It just looks like FluentBooking Pro is the only plugin enabled. But I had an issue a couple months back where those two plugins were out of sync and there was no notification that a new plugin was available. In fact, that's a bug that I regularly have with WPManageNinja's products. The plugins sometimes have to be manually updated. People post about it all the time on the Facebook group. But the problem was that because those two plugins were out of sync, I don't know what caused it, but all the payments were all screwed up, even through Stripe. And I contacted Stripe support and I contacted WPManageNinja, and I have records of both of these, so I can back up what I'm saying here. But essentially, let's say that you had 50 customers who made a purchase. What was happening was customer number 50, they were going through and making a purchase using FluentForms made by the same company, and their purchase was being charged to customer number 1. So whenever this issue arose, all new purchases for new customers were being charged back to the earliest possible person and moving in sequential order. So customer 50, their order was actually being charged in Stripe directly to customer number 1. Customer 51 was charging customer 2, customer 53 was charging customer 3, and so on. And this led to, in some cases, over $30,000 of processing that had to be refunded. And that's 2.9% of 30,000 is nothing to sneeze at. So that was a lot of money that had to get refunded. So my client was pissed. But those people that were errantly charged, I mean, you got someone who made a purchase probably 6 months ago being charged for something somebody was purchasing today. So I am very, very hesitant to ever, and I've completely turned it off. Like I told my clients, we are done processing payments through FluentForms, never again. So I'm very hesitant to enable Stripe payments through another WPManageNinja tool. Maybe that's harsh, but I cannot personally take that risk in my business, and I cannot in good conscience take that risk for my clients. Take that how you will. Again, I have the support tickets. Stripe says it's totally on them. They sent the transactions. WPManageNinja's response was basically, we have no idea. We have no idea what happened. No idea what's going on. And they kind of just like did nothing. So incredibly frustrating. And I'm inserting this part in this video because if you're going to use this to take payments, watch it like a hawk. Keep it updated all the time. So that alone might be enough reason for me not to use this to process any payments whatsoever. So I hope that they actually end up building an integration with something like SureCart, which is headless, much more secure for this type of transaction, or with other tools. Because quite frankly, I don't think I'll use the Stripe integration with a WPManageNinja product again. All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk really quick about a couple other things here. Let's talk about the Google Calendar integration. I'm glad that they have one, but this is really dropping the ball here, forcing people to have to create their own Google Cloud Console account, create a project, complete the OAuth consent screen, click on the create credentials, blah, 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 blah. Look at this documentation. I actually have, funny enough, I have a video on my channel. I'll probably link it in the description. Maybe it's applicable. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to make another one. But we have to walk through this whole stinking process of registering your own app with Google. That's nonsense. I just want to call it out. That's absolutely ridiculous to make a user walk through that process. You should be able to click a button, integrate with your calendar, and be done with it. I'm not smart enough to know why that's not a thing in this case. Part of me wants to think that they just didn't want to pay or were too lazy or just didn't get it done where they could just one-click integrate with the calendar. Maybe they didn't get approved. I don't know. But this is ridiculous, albeit something that I can personally do. I think this is ridiculous to make a user go through. And the Zoom integration, by the way, was exactly the same thing. I had to go into Zoom. I had to go into the app marketplace. I had to go to this develop thing in the top right. I had to click build an app. And then I had to scroll down and click server to server OAuth, click create, enter in an app, click create there. And then I had to copy these account credentials, click continue, fill all this information, etc., and then click activate. Is that a super hard thing to do? No, but come on. All the other booking apps that I use, I click a button, it says authorize, I click yes, and I'm done. I don't understand what this is all about, and I feel like this needs to be fixed before this could be really truly rolled out to mainstream. You cannot expect like employees at your company to walk through this process, nor would I want to walk through this process for multiple people. I think it's just a tad overkill. I think it's dropping the ball. So that's my negative feedback there. Again, I think that there needs to be more calendar integration options. I know I personally use Google Calendar, so I'm taken care of, but I know there's a lot of people that use like the Apple Calendar and stuff like that. So probably need to enhance those features. Okay, so with some of those unpleasant things out of the way, let's talk about some things that I do like. I do like the calendar section. I feel like this is very clean. So you can add a new host. In this case, this is like me, for example. I'm a host, and John and Jane and Bo, those people would be hosts. So for each of your employees, you create a host. So here's Doug, the host, and within Doug, I can create event types. So I have my call with Doug, which is a 60-minute one-to-one call, but I can add a new event type. And I can do one-to-one, or I can do one-to-many. Let's go with the one-to-one for a second. That's going to be the most popular. And you can give your event a color. You can give it a title, a meeting duration, which is fine, all pretty standard stuff. And then you can choose location. So because I've already integrated Zoom video, I can choose Zoom video, and it will automatically make a Zoom link dynamically in my account. And I have tested it. When I cancel the meeting, the Zoom meeting gets canceled in Zoom as well. I was afraid it wouldn't do it, but it does. So this works great. Honestly, no complaints there about that. And then you have these other options like online meeting. You can send a custom online link, or you can enter in person or phone type options, or custom. All of those seem to work pretty well. Or you can even add another location. Like you could let the person choose. Do you want to use Zoom or do you want to use Google Meet? Do you want to meet in person or do you want to meet on Zoom? And then the person can choose that when they're checking out. So for example, we'll go ahead and add an in-person option, just so we can see what that looks like on the front end. We'll give it a title, and then we'll click continue. So now they give us these options again, but then they give us more options on the left-hand side, like schedule settings. So I can say people can only schedule, let's say 14 days in advance, and I can use an existing schedule, which is something that you set up under settings for each user, choosing when they're available, or you can set custom hours and say I'm only available for this type of event during this amount of time. And one thing that I actually do like about this calendar is that you can add a date override. So for example, I could come into here and I can say on the 31st, I don't want to be available at all because I'm going trick-or-treating. That's Halloween. I'm not going to be available. So I can click apply. And now on the 31st, no matter what, despite these hours, I'm not available. So a good example of this is for time off, like a time off event. Like recently when I took paternity, I came in and said, for a 2-week period, I want to be unavailable. So I'll say the 18th, the 20th, and I wish you could like multiple dates select, but you got to come in here and click them all. I could come in here and I could mark myself as unavailable and click apply. One little piece of feedback, I'd like to have a label so that I could see like paternity or vacation or something like that. Halloween, right? Whatever reason I'm unavailable, it'd be nice to have that there. And then scheduling conditions, you can't schedule an event within 4 hours of the start time. I do typically change this to be like 12 hours myself or 24, just depending on how I'm feeling. But those are decent settings in there, and this is fairly easy and fairly clean to set up. Next up, we'll have the email notifications. So you can have an email that goes automatically to the attendee, and you can edit that email to have it say pretty much whatever you want. I think this is well done. And these emails obviously tie in with the SMTP system that you have set up with your website. So in my case, Fluent SMTP, made by the same company, would be managing those emails being sent out through my Amazon AWS account. This is actually one of the best implementations of a booking email notification system that I've used. And so kudos to them here. And you can come in and you can edit whether or not you get a notification and what that looks like. And you can also enable reminders. So you can configure the meeting reminder to the attendee. You can click edit there and you can choose how many minutes before. I usually send one out 4 hours before the meeting goes live, or 24 hours. So you might even say, I want to send one out 24 hours and one 4 hours before, and then click save. And there you go. Those notifications go out. And then of course you can see the rest of them. So kudos to them. These are good. These are really good features. And I really, really like this. Now here's the booking questions for this particular event. By default, the system comes with name, email, what is the meeting about? It's kind of goofy, and location. But you can add more questions. So you can come in here and say, I want to have a text area, phone number, etc. Drop down, maybe like select the reason for your visit. And it can be like, I'm getting Botox or whatever. You can put that there. This is decent. It's pretty much bare minimum, works well. For payment settings, obviously I have not integrated Stripe and I probably won't, but here's when you would enable the payment, and then when the user views it on the front end, they'd have a payment field. The webhooks option I think is pretty good. You can add a new webhook here and you can make a post. So for example, if I wanted to synchronize this event meeting with adding a user into something like High Level, my CRM, and my email marketing platform, I could do that. I could send this data just about anywhere. I could send it to SureTriggers, and SureTriggers could, send it everywhere. So this is decent. I like that it's on a per event option here. So I'm happy with this. And then coming back to integrations, you can add integrations here. In our case, we could add FluentCRM because it's one of the only things I have installed on this demo site that would integrate. But I think that's contextual. Whatever you have installed that it integrates with will show there. And I can come in here and I can choose to map different fields. You can do custom fields. So if I added more fields to my booking form under booking questions, I could map those to custom fields, put people on different lists. Like I could have a list for people that book calls with me, and then I could put them on my newsletter list so that you can email people appropriately. And here are the rest of those settings, all pretty standard. But all right, so we added our one-to-one call here under Doug's test meeting. Here's how you share that. You can click the share button and they give you a short code that you can drop onto a page. They also give you a landing page and you have to enable them here. So we'll go ahead and click on that. It brings us under our calendar settings and we have to choose enable landing page feature for this calendar. For only our selected booking types, maybe we'll choose Doug's test meeting, click save. So then I'll go back to calendars. I'll come back to share. And for our landing page, I can now view our landing page. And here is our booking. So you could share this link directly with someone if you wanted it to be minimal like this, if that was your thing. Or you could add it to a Gutenberg block. I think this is really cool. I know Gutenberg blocks are growing in popularity. And I did recently pick up Astro Pro and Spectra Pro, and I'm going to be using those a lot more to test building websites to see what that feels like. to see if I can tolerate the block builder. So I'm glad to see a FluentBooking block. That is, according to WordPress, the future of WordPress. But for now, we'll stick with this shortcode here. So I'll click to copy. I'll click close. And let's go ahead and add this to a page in our page builder. I like to use Thrive Architect, so let's walk through that process. Here we are on a very basic empty page. I'm just going to add in text and drop in our shortcode. And I want to show you one bug that I've discovered with this already. So I'm going to drop that in and preview that page. So far, it looks good. But once the user goes in and selects a date, so we'll select today. I forgot that I marked off. I can only book 14 days in advance, and I took them all off on the unavailable dates. Point out two things. The first thing is that users can book a time in the past. It's currently 2:30 in the afternoon, but I can book a 9 a.m. with myself. Oops, that's a bug that I think Fluent needs to fix pretty darn quick. But let's say I wanted to book a real time in the future. I'll choose 4 p.m., click next, and here's the bug I was talking about. It cuts off inside of Thrive Architect. I don't know if it does in any other page builder, but here's the fix. Instead of just dropping your text onto the page, instead drop in a content box and then take your text and drop it in the content box. Then click save. Let's come back here, refresh this. Let's choose today. And not today, let's choose the 30th, the only day I'm available, and then choose a time. And you can see that that solved that bug. I have no idea why that's the case. Now here's the next bug that I think it's a bug, or maybe I'm just not smart enough to figure out what's going on here, so feel free to let me know. But if I go back into my event details, I chose 2 locations, Zoom video and in person. And if I come back to my booking here, you can see that it says 2 location options, Zoom video and in person. I don't see the option to choose Zoom. I'm basically given my in-person location. And if I click on this, even though it's selected, if I click on it again, it asks for the attendee address, which I suppose is nice because we did select on our form here the attendee address. If I change this to the organizer address, I can enter in 123 Test Street. I'll display it on the booking page, hit update, save changes, hit refresh, come back over here, refresh this, choose our date again, choose a time. You can see that if I click on it, you can actually see clicking on it does nothing this time, but over here where it says 2 locations, if I hover over it, first off, this formatting is all bonkers. It shows Zoom video there, and then it shows 123 Test Street as the location. This should be different. I feel like this location should be spelled out more plainly here under the meeting section. I feel like there should be an option if I'm given 2 locations. We'll go ahead and schedule this meeting and we'll see if it actually gives me a meeting link as well. But based on what I've done here, I've added a location choice. This should actually be a choice rather than, and even here it says options. So this must be a bug, but let's schedule this meeting and see what happens. So just like I thought, it actually forced me into the in-person option and it didn't let me choose a Zoom meeting. So I didn't even get a Zoom link. By the way, this is what your customer sees or your client sees. It gives the address, which is nice, but kind of confused why I didn't have a choice to choose my option of where I wanted to meet for my meeting choice. Now, another feature I want to point out, because I did enable the ability for this test meeting to be on landing pages, I can click this link right here, right below, and it actually brings up like a booking page where someone can like click book now, and it's all tied into that landing page feature. So actually, I'd like to have a back button here, but that's where you get to it. It puts a link under your name where you can book with somebody. Not bad. And then under host settings, again, this just brings up our ability to select which bookings to show. Again, we chose only the selected ones. I could come back here and show all. We have remote calendars. I could integrate my particular host calendar as well as the particular Zoom host calendar. All right, next section. We're almost done here. This video is going long, but I feel like if you're going to spend this amount of money on a booking plugin, I want to be thorough for you. So hopefully this is helpful. So now under FluentBooking on the left, we'll go to bookings and we have, I actually think this is decent, a list of all upcoming, completed, canceled, latest bookings, etc. So we'll stay in the upcoming section. We'll click view details on a meeting. We're brought back to the screen we've already seen. I feel like this is a very decent way to display this. And then I don't know why we came to this last because we've already talked about it. There is an availability section here on the left-hand side called availability. It's also here in the top right. For you to add new availability, you can have your weekly hours, your Doug's availability. You can click add new. I can give it a title. I can choose a time zone and I can add a new schedule here. And I could give it a name. I can configure it, set it to default. etc. So that for any number of events, I can say these are my one-to-many available hours, these are my one-to-one available hours, these are my in-person hours, these are my Zoom hours, etc. So that you can create a fairly robust availability. Okay, I hope that that was helpful. This video was a little bit longer than I had planned for it to be, but I wanted to walk through all the features since this was the first day that this is available to give you the ability to make an informed decision. Let's just be honest and say, like, would I recommend this or not? I'd probably say if you think you liked what you saw enough to have faith that it will, or maybe it already is, or will become something that you'd want to use, I would grab the lifetime deal right now. I think you'll regret it if you don't. Plenty of people have regretted not picking up the Fluent CRM deal. It is decently priced. I picked up the 10 site license. I think it was like 200 something dollars. I'll get my value back if I keep it by either including it in licensed packages with clients or just using it myself. Maybe depending on how quickly WPManageNinja fixes some of these issues, maybe I'll refund it if I'm not totally happy with it. But if you think this is for you, I would say go ahead and get it. But just in general, like, is this a booking solution that I would say, yep, this is it. Go get it. This is the one that I recommend. I got a couple emails from other people like myself who have YouTube channels and run websites, and they were all like, this is it. It's the best. Get it now. It's like, whoa. I don't know. I'm not that willing to pimp my affiliate link so quickly to say that, yes, buy it. I got to make a couple bucks off my audience. I want you to be, I feel like that would be a disservice to say that this is in a state where I could make that claim. For now, I think this is in a get it so you don't miss it. Don't rush to get it if you're unsure. And if you're kind of like, meh, then I'd say completely avoid it. It's not worth your time or your money to jump in and have to deal with it. So I hope that helps you make your informed decision. And as always, if you'd like to see more from me, you can go ahead and follow the channel. If you have any questions, leave them down below. And I'll see you in the next video.